and Starr.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.
Every time I hear that music, I know ZACK FISCH is on the road again. What up, voice of the Hershey Bears?
What's going on, Jim? It's good to see you. We're here in Springfield, as you can see behind the background at the Mass Mutual Center, getting ready for the next portion of this road trip here. It's been a fun trek so far. I had a great time in Chicago, and thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. So you're in Springfield right now, and Bears are going to be practicing. You're in your broadcast booth right now. Bears will be coming on the ice and practicing in a few minutes.
Yeah,
For
hit the road and get a little practice in after the travel day yesterday. Yesterday was a complete travel day, or a couple days ago now by the time that this airs. But yeah, it's good to get the legs out there on the ice, and Coach Nelson will put them through the paces a little bit, and hopefully get a few guys healthy and back at it.
Okay, so they're practicing for Wednesday's game against the Thunderbirds at 7 p.m. Can you give us a look? You'll be able to give us a look at for the players when they come out, and we'll take a look at their practice a little bit. Also, can you pan the arena a little bit? Kind of give us a tour what the arena looks like, and
Yeah,
while you're
sure.
doing that, maybe showcase the three-peat banners, where Springfield is the only team in the AHL to have won
Yeah.
3 Calder Cups in a row.
Pretty crazy, huh? Right. So where we are now, this is actually Springfield's broadcast booth. I'm borrowing it for the moment. This is where Ryan Smith from their staff calls the game. He does a great job. He's a guy from the Philly area, so he obviously loves the Bears, but loves the T-Birds a little more. So I'll just turn. I can plugged in on the laptop here, so do the best I can here. So there's the rink behind. We just
That's
got
good right
a
there.
little bright. We got one guy out there right now. I think it's Luke Philp, who's obviously coming back from injury with the trainer. And then the banners, you can see him if I duck down a little bit here. The banners are, there we go. We see some of them there to the left and the right of Mass Mutual. And of course, on the other side, there's the Eddie Shore banner over my I guess it would be stage right shoulder. And then the three-peat banners are right there, kind of on the back side of the scoreboard from where we are. But yeah, inside the broadcast booth, we got my guy Jesse over here working as well, getting some stuff done for the weekend as the guys start to get coming out on the ice for an afternoon practice. So it's an old school building, but they put a lot of work into it, Jim. And I really think they've done a great job here in Springfield. When I came in to the American Hockey League in 2016, 9 seasons ago now, the Falcons had just left and the T-Birds were coming in. They had a bit of a challenge getting people into the building, but their management has done a great job revitalizing this area. They've hosted the All-Star game. They hosted an Eastern Conference Finals. And they're trying to make the playoffs right now. So it's a really good atmosphere, and they branded it the Thunderdome, and it can definitely get loud when there's a lot of people in here.
Yeah, I've been to Springfield and hockey games with the Hershey Bears, and it's a nice arena, nice area, and these fans are old, not old, but experienced with hockey, just like Hershey, and they know all about hockey. Now we used to be tied with the Springfield Thunderbirds for back-to-back Calder Cups, but in the recent couple of years, we became the only team in the AHL to have 3 back-to-backs, but they still have the record for the three-peat. For the folks watching, you may want to grab a pen because we got a lot of current stats and information that we'll be talking about. You want to may want to make note of it. So let's look first at the 5 games of this 10-game road trip, and we are 4-0-1, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the one loss is that shootout loss. So points in every game. Not bad start to it.
Not at all. 9 points out of 10,
Correct.
and 2 shutouts, 1 for each goalie.
It's good to see. I mean, goaltending has been a huge part of our success over the last handful of years. And so far on this trip, our goalies have a .928 save percentage, and that's going to win you a lot of hockey games. And our goaltending at times maybe hasn't been as good statistically as it has in the past, giving up a few more goals than we'd expect either guy to. But both guys can turn it on. Both guys are getting hot at the right time. Now it's keeping it going consistently, but that's been a big part of the success is the netminder's playing well, and they've obviously gotten the goal support from the guys in front of them.
Yeah, right now our dynamic duo seems to be in the groove, um, and both doing well. I liked Spencer Smallman's goal Sunday afternoon, and I'm officially calling him Sniper Smallman.
Sniper Smallman, I like it. He's starting to litter the score sheet a little bit more, which is nice. He's had a career year. This is the best year of his American Hockey League career, which is great to see. I think he's just been a perfect addition to this team. He works his tail off. He can play the first line. He can play the fourth line, but up to 32 points. He's a guy that we saw in Chicago against some of their younger players. He's really hard to knock off the puck. And he's a physical player too. He's not afraid to stand up for his teammates. So it's nice that he's gunning a few more in, 9 on the season. But hopefully with that nickname, we can get him up closer to 15 or so before the year ends and keep that streak going, because he's been a real nice find for the team when you lost the likes of a Jimmy Huntington. Need somebody to help replace him. And Smallman can play wing, he can play center. He does a little bit of everything for the team.
Yeah. By the way, you said that Jesse is sitting beside you, and I just wanted to say he is doing a great job on this road trip, and his interviews between periods at the end of the game are superb, very good. And
Yeah, he's been having fun with it. And the TV broadcasts are great. We're not on TV the next couple of this. We're back on TV in Bridgeport, which is next week, and then Utica, which is next week. These next couple are radio only, which lets me go back to kind of the tried and true rapid fire play-by-play style. But yeah, we have fun time. It's great to have Garrett Mitchell with us in Chicago as well, and nice to have 2 wins to call there.
yeah, did you get to see the Green River?
Got to see the Green River on TV. I didn't make it all
Oh,
the way down there. Once they had made it green, I was there before it was green. On Thursday when we got in, had a chance to get downtown. But I know a lot of our staff got a chance to go there. But I had my folks there, so I spent a little more time with them and a little less time sightseeing. I've been to Chicago a lot, so I've been fortunate to go to a lot of the places that maybe others hadn't. Definitely had some deep dish pizza. Definitely went downtown the one time, but it was nice to see my parents, my sister, her husband, and a lot of my wife's family that all drove, 3 to 5 hours to go to the game. We had a big contingent. Grant Cruikshank had 30 people. Nicky Lieberman's parents were there. A bunch of guys had friends and family, so that was pretty cool that they got to see him. Hunter Shepard's whole family was there, so that was awesome.
wow. Yeah, sounds great. How about that Rubinski goal? Um,
Cool.
I mean, he scored 2 goals, and you can talk about his second goal, but he did all that with just 3 shots in the game. Two.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good accuracy for him. And the last one was pretty, as you said, between the legs. We see the guys horse around like that, practice the Michigan move in between the legs, but never really in a game. But it was the right move at the right time. He was able to flip it up and into the net. He joked, and I knew he and Ryan Hofer were roommates in Hershey. Them and Vincent Iorio, the three of them have lived together and host down South Carolina, and that's been huge for Ryan Hofer. But he scored a between the legs goal the other day. So Henrik noted to Jesse in his interview, I saw him do it, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity. So that's great to see for Ribby. I know he'd been a little frustrated with the lack of offensive production because he had such a good start to the year. He got called up to the NHL. Then it had been about 20 or so games since he had scored a goal, and for him to get 2 was great because I thought he was really playing well in the games prior to that. That Wilkes-Barre game on Wednesday, he looked like one of our best players on the ice. So we've seen what he can do in the playoffs the last 2 years, where he's had, last year, I suppose I should say, because he was a Black Ace the year before, where he had 5 goals and some of them were real big goals. So he's the type of player, again, get him hot this time of year and get him rolling to the playoffs. It's only going to be good. But little bit one in his bag of tricks that I didn't know he had in him.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knew he had that. And we had a lead, a big enough lead that he could try that. So everything worked on that. I know in Mario Lemieux did that once, I think.
Yeah, he did. And
And
at the time, that was like super revolutionary to see somebody do that. You know why I know that? Because I had VHS tape. It was like called Hot Off the Ice or something like that with John Davidson, the old goalie, the old broadcaster that now was in Columbus and helping run them, and the Rangers before that. He hosted it, and the number 1 goal of the year was Mario Lemieux going between the legs. And
wow,
I look at that goal now, it was still amazing, but compared to what some of the other guys have done. And it's like, wow, everybody's kind of perfected that. But you're right. That's a good memory. I think it was on Kirk McLean in Vancouver. So you might have to fact check me on that. But I watched that VHS tape a billion times because obviously I didn't get ESPN2 at that time. And unless there was a game on the regular ESPN channel, we weren't going to see it in Kansas City, where I'm from.
I went to Pittsburgh when Lemieux played his last game at home. And then they were going to, I think, Philadelphia the next night. He scored a goal in that last game, and I caught it with a great picture. I might post it sometime. I caught the goal. He shot it. The puck is like just about ready to balls to twine. You can tell it's going to go in the net. And I thought, wow, money shot. And then after he retired, he came back a couple years later.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, not so much of a money shot now.
I still remember that. I was young, but I've seen the clip a million times. Gary Thorne's call on that one. And then, yeah, I remember I was at a hockey tournament in St. Louis when he came back and played Toronto and scored in his debut. So quite the player. He was one that I had a poster of on my wall growing up, just because he was a guy that I definitely love watching play.
Oh, absolutely. Since Chicago's is their NHL affiliate, it's the Carolina Hurricanes with Coach Rod Brindamore. And I'm assuming that the Brindamore guy playing with the Wolves is a relative.
Yeah, it's his son Skyler, who we used to see in Charlotte. He was there, I believe, it was on an American League deal. Obviously, Charlotte's now affiliated with Florida. So out of Quinnipiac, he got his start there, and then when the affiliation was reunited, they ripped up his AHL deal, and he got a new deal to go play in Chicago. So staying in the organization, but he's an effective penalty killer. He works hard. Obviously, tough to emulate the career that Rod had, but he's in great shape like his dad, and he plays hard like his dad did. So got to see a little bit of him, but yeah, young Chicago team for sure. But yeah, that was a name that definitely sticks out like a sore thumb in a good way, because Rod was quite the player to watch in his heyday.
Yep. Now, Hershey has not had, I'm a little concerned about this. Hershey has not had a 2 or 3 game skid yet. And we did have that 9-0 shellacking, right? With the baby Pens to kind of wake us up. But a short skid in late February or early March is usually good for a playoff wake-up call. And then you come back and begin to peak. That's kind of what I've seen through the years with teams that win. And with all these recent wins, my question is there a chance that the Hershey Bears are peaking too early, or is the middle of March just about right?
Yeah, Nelly's thing is always, and he joked about the first year, we'll have it figured out by April, right? So I think that's what he always wants. He wants his team trending towards playing elite level hockey this time of year, because when you get ready for the playoffs, you want to be going into the playoffs playing your best. Maybe we haven't had a stretch of games where we've lost them all in a row, but I do think in late January, when we lost 9-0 to Wilkes-Barre, we're thinking at that time, outlier, one game, that was embarrassing, but you're going to lose. It's the same as a 1-0 loss. Erase it, move on. Then you play Bridgeport twice, and we beat them 5-4 in both games, but we didn't play well in either of those games, and our offense kind of got us by. And you're like, all right, we need the break. So we had the All-Star break then. I believe it was right then. Yeah, the All-Star break. And then we came back and lost 5-0 on home ice to Syracuse. I think that was a stretch where it was, hey, guys, let's get it going. It's time to wake up here a little bit. And the month of February, we had so little games. It was tough to get rolling in that consistency. And we still had blips there where we lost 6-2 to Belleville on home ice. For whatever reason at home, it just hasn't been as good as it's been on the road, where it's been a feast this year. It hasn't been famine at home, but it hasn't been that standard that we are used to, where we're a huge winning team. We're just a few games right around that 500 mark for a lot of the year, and a few games below it even. So I think that was a big part of it. Adversity builds character. Nelly's always said that. And I think that was a big portion of adversity, because the Wilkes-Barre game was embarrassing. And they're like, all right, you're past it, right? And then to lose 5-0 at home, everybody was steamed and everybody was upset by that one. Luckily, we came back and we won 3 of the next 4 to end the month of February. And it was ultimately that we've seen our outside the Belleville game start getting on the right track, particularly in the goaltending and defense department. It's been nice shutout against Cleveland, a shutout against Lehigh Valley, shutout against Chicago, all here in the month of March. So trending in the right direction, goaltending and defense wise.
Yeah, I believe we have a 5 total shutouts between our 2 goalies so far. Didn't we have a 6-1 loss with Toronto at home?
We lost to Toronto. I think it was 7-3, but we lost 6-1 to Bridgeport. That was early in the year, November, I think it was. But obviously, Bridgeport is having a historically tough season, to put it nicely. And the Bears, when they go and play them, they better be ready because they work hard. They're not winning a lot of hockey games, but they work hard. But that's a game that you can't overlook because that's a same Bridgeport team that's got Chris Terry that's second in the league with almost 60 points, and former Bear Brian Pino's having a great season with a career best in goals. Like they work hard and they'll beat you if you're not on your game. But they also are a beatable team, as proven by the record. But that one, it proves that this is too tough of a league to take a night off. That we lost 6-1 to them in our own building. So that was early in the year. One we hope we move past. We've had success against them since, but we see there's been some tight games. So when we go to Bridgeport, we better bring it. Same with Utica. Yeah, they're the same team that lost 13 straight to start the year and had to fire their coach, but they're trying to contend for a playoff spot right now. And there's teams with a lot to play for. Bridgeport's already eliminated, but they're going to want to play spoiler against the Hershey Bears. So no easy points this time of year.
No, the next 5 games on the road trip, they're all going to be tricky, and anybody could win. Before we get to the next 5 games coming up, let's talk about the recent NHL AHL trades. And there's nothing that will impact the Hershey Bears lineup, right?
Correct. Yeah. No moves at the NHL or AHL level that it'll impact the Bears. Caps went out and got Anthony Beauvillier, but that was it by Washington. Relatively quiet for them, and the AHL trade deadline, tough to make a move, has come and gone too.
Well, in the AHL trade and players being sent down and so forth for the playoffs, have any of our arch rivals in any division, did they pick up any hot shots since the trades?
Yeah, I think we're seeing more of a retooling. I don't think anybody necessarily picked up a huge game changer that you went, wow, that guy is going to change the fortunes of the division. And Wilkes-Barre got Chase Stillman while Jonathan Gruden was shipped out. Gruden's a good, hardworking fourth liner. Stillman's a first rounder that really hasn't panned out yet. Maybe he turns into a top 6 player for them, but right now he's not there yet. Well, Providence, they saw some roster adjustments for them. Boston is out of it, so likely out of it. So will we see the Georgie Merkulovs of the world or some other guys go up? They did get Oliver Wahlstrom, who they claimed on waivers, then sent down and no one picked him up. He's played really, really well. And they got Fraser Minton, who's a top prospect of Toronto that got traded. So if there's any team that stands out to me as maybe adding a little more firepower offensively, it's the Providence Bruins, because those 2 guys are real good American Hockey League players. They already have Patra, who's a top prospect as well. So that's a team in Providence that enters the week 7 points back of the Bears and neck with Wilkes-Barre. And we've seen it, Hershey Providence 1-2 in either way in the Atlantic in the last couple of years, and it hasn't really played out where we've seen them in the playoffs. But maybe this is the year. The Bears have had success against the Bruins. But even then, Providence just 5 wins over their last 10s, but they do have points in 7 of those games. So they're starting to find their footing with some of the additions only helping them.
All right, I want to cover this quickly because we're all hoping there might be some superstar coming to Hershey yet this year, but I want to clarify that is not necessarily the case, but there are no up and downs from the Capitals in the future this season, right?
Correct. Yeah, like Ethan Frank, all those guys, McElrath, they're not eligible to come down.
Are there would an injury, reconditioning stint be possible? Someone from the Cats being sent down for reconditioning?
Yeah, they could do conditioning stint. We've seen those before, but obviously it's not anything that's going to impact playoffs and anything that can be long term. but it's something where, Jacob Verana was the one guy they waived, and had he cleared waivers, he could have come down to Hershey, especially with them making a move for Bavillier. But with Sonny Milano, it sounds like he had a setback. They never had to make that move where they had to send someone down for sure. So I would have loved to see a Dylan McElrath selfishly and such, but they're up there. They're up there for good, and we're rooting for him. But I'm sure I'm leading into your next point. Yeah, you can see players, amateur players come in, junior players that the Capitals could reassign here when their season ends. We see that often. College players that sign could come here as well.
All right, and the Caps cannot send down any extras that they might have in Washington that have not played one NHL game yet.
No, I mean, everyone that they have up there, has played this year, even if it's been brief. But yeah, like an Alexia, a McElrath, a Milano, if he got healthy, none of those guys could come down on a permanent basis because the deadline has already passed. They would have had to go through waivers. They would have had to been on Hershey's roster on trade deadline day.
ZACK FISCH, you are no fun.
I know. I wish, believe me, if we could sneak Ethan Frank and Dylan McElrath in our hockey bags and throw them out on the ice in disguise in Springfield, we would, that's for sure. But obviously, they could. A guy like Andrew Crystal is a name to watch, right? He's having an unbelievable season. Got traded from Kelowna to Spokane. We saw him as a Black Ace for a little last year. He's a second rounder. He's got I think it's 125, 26 points in the junior ranks. He's too good to be playing in the WHL, but because of the CHL transfer agreement, he's there rather than playing in the American Hockey League. He's not eligible to play in the American Hockey League yet, but next year he will be. Next year he should be on the Bears if he doesn't make the Capitals. And this year I would have to imagine he's a guy that if Spokane gets knocked out, that he's going to come here and join us. And could he play? Obviously we'll see, but he's getting closer to being a professional hockey player, which is certainly exciting and probably going to be a big part of our team next year if he's not in Washington.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to that. We can also cherry pick the Stingrays all we want. Is that correct?
Yeah. Anyone from South Carolina could get called up that's on an American League contract, or you'd have to sign to a PTO. That could happen. So we have Micah Miller, Andrew Weiss down there. Suzdalev is down there. He could come up. Hofer could come up. The goalies, whatever it may be. So no problem with that. It's just essentially preventing teams at the National Hockey League level from throwing a bunch of guys that are, if they're eliminated, down to the American League and stacking the deck. And it's only fair in that case.
Now, you mentioned Providence. They're the ones that I'm worried about, along with the Wilkes-Barre Pens. Right now, Hershey's in first place in the division with 80 points, and Wilkes-Barre is second with 74. Providence 73 points, and Charlotte 72 points. So yeah, we got to keep our eye on that.
It's going to be a fight to the finish, and we have games against Lehigh, Wilkes-Barre coming up around the corner. Wilkes-Barre, obviously, within this trip, we still got one game there. There'll be a quick turnaround, go right from Hartford to Wilkes-Barre and play. And then you finish the month with a Bridgeport, Utica, but can't overlook those. And then, we got 3 against Lehigh Valley in April still, 2 against Wilkes-Barre. All those are critical games. It's nice that we have a cushion, a lead, because we're starting to get down to crunch time. Providence has 13 last. Charlotte has 15. Us and Wilkes-Barre have 14. So quickly those opportunities to pass when you're 6, 7 points back start dwindling down. But some of those head-to-head games obviously will be very, very big. But we have 4, including the Bears, really elite teams in our division. A team like Lehigh Valley as well that's tough to play against, and a team that's Springfield that's trying to hang around and make some noise as well. So it's not an easy division, and outside Bridgeport having a tough year, anyone can beat you any night. So you got to bring it. But Nelly said it recently: the Calder Cup's up for grabs this year, and that's not, we don't have comps in our group, but Laval's great, Rochester's great, Toronto's always been good, and then we have those teams in our division. There's no easy path the last 2 years, but certainly when you're going for a three-peat, it feels like everything's really got to go your way, and let's hope that it happens.
Yep. And Hershey has a record of 37-15, 5-1, compared to Springfield for Wednesday's game. Springfield has 30, or their record's 30-23, 2-4. Going into the game, what are some of the strengths that you feel Springfield has that could cause some problems for the Bears?
Well, I think they have a really strong goaltender in Colton Ellis. I think he's one of the better ones that you don't hear about in the American Hockey League. He's been their MVP from talking to folks here. You know, his numbers maybe don't pop off the charts as far as the best goalie in the American Hockey League. He's got a 264 goals against average, but his save percentage is 920. I know he's stolen games for them. We've seen the best of him. They've been highly competitive when he's been in net. I imagine he will get the call with a little bit of time off. T-Birds are giving up a lot of goals right now. They had a tough game in Syracuse. They've lost 3 in a row coming into this. All that, you know, leads is it a trap game? Is it one that you got to be ready for? But they have a one of the elite players in the American Hockey League in Matthew Pekka. He's didn't have a point in his last couple of games, but prior to that was on a nice little, 10, 12 game point streak. I think it was. He was on a roll. So you're like, oh man, of course he doesn't have a point in the last 2 games. He's going to be due. But between that and Dvorsky, the youngster, the first rounder, is having a great rookie season with 19 goals. There's some good players there, and they made some moves too. They went out, they're trying to improve their defense. They got Kalen Addison at the deadline for future considerations. They added Cale Kessie. They wanted a little more team toughness, the former Bear. So they're doing what they can, and I don't want to say they've solidified themselves a playoff spot over Hartford. It's not done yet, but they've given themselves a bit of a cushion. They're at 66 points. The Wolfpack are at 57. The Wolfpack only have 11 games left. So Springfield wants to make sure that they're in, and it seems like they put themselves in a good spot for that, despite their recent skid.
Well, their goalie Colton Ellis, he has 2 shutouts, and as you mentioned, a 2.64 goals against average, compared to Shepard with a 2.79 and Stevenson with a 2.88. Both those goalies have our goalies have playoff um, goals against averages. You need a goalie with less than 3.0 in the
Yeah.
playoffs for sure. And uh, Shepard has 3 shutouts. Stevenson has 2 shutouts. Do you know which one of our goalies are going to start Wednesday?
Not yet for sure, but I would have to think that it'll go back to Shepard. Nelly doesn't mind starting a goaltender the next game when he had a shutout the game prior, but he doesn't like doing it when it's a quick turnaround. It was an early game, a 3 p.m. local time game, so that's why I went back to Stevenson. But I would guess it would be Shepard. Don't know that for sure yet. Will in the morning of the game, but I would guess it'd be Hunter Shepard because we're going to need both goalies against this weekend with the back-to-back games with the travel. Each of them are going to get a game for sure between Hartford and Wilkes-Barre Scranton. So my guess would be Shepard coming off his performance and then probably go to Stevenson Friday and then back to Shepard on Saturday against Wilkes-Barre with the travel. But we'll see. Well, I know our goalie coach Yuha will meet with Nelly and figure that out. But if I was a betting man, that would be my bet.
Well, you will be heading to Hartford next for a Friday night game, 7 p.m. Then less than 24 hours later, there's a 6:05 puck drop in Wilkes-Barre on Saturday. And then you're off to Bridgeport for a game the next Wednesday, the 26th at 7 p.m. And that's going to be on TV, you say?
Yeah. The Bridgeport one and the Utica ones will both be antenna TV.
And
So.
Utica. Okay. That's good news. And Utica will be after Bridgeport on Saturday, the 29th at 7 p.m. And then ZACK FISCH is heading off to another game 24 hours later, where you and the Bears will be in the saddle again at Giant Center for a comfy 5 p.m. start on home ice.
Yeah, it's going to be good to be back for that one. It's a race back home between us and Utica for a home and home. Sunday's Hall of Fame night as well. So that's a special night inducting 4 new individuals into the Hall of Fame. Lou Francischetti's going in, Mark French is going in, Michelle Harvey is going in, as well as Mike Stuthers. So looking forward to seeing some of those faces at Giant Center, the ceremony beforehand, and then hopefully our guys will have a lot of juice from that ceremony and from being back home. Always tough. I'm sure they'll be tired at the end of the long road trip, but I think the adrenaline of being back home hopefully will lead them to a victory over the Comets that night. But it's going to be good to sleep in our own beds for a couple days after that Wilkes-Barre game, and it's going to be good to be home for sure, because after that we have 3 road games left, and they're all day trips. They're all Lehigh Valley and Wilkes-Barre. So it's going to be nice until the playoffs. We're done with sleeping in a hotel. So as enjoyable as time on the road can be, looking forward to getting back to some family time and being in front of the best fans in the American Hockey League.
And it'll be great to have Mike Stothers in the Hall of Fame. He gave me a stick once. I felt like a 10-year-old. I'm like 35. And I go, Mike, can you give me a stick? Yes, here you go. Also, I remember watching Michelle Harvey with the 68-69 Calder Cup team in Hershey. And it was fun watching him. Him and Gilly Gilbert and Mike Nicolak were on a line. And that was a crazy line. I mean, they were they were a machine. And Nicolak would carry 2 guys on his arms going into the corner, and he'd get the puck and he'd get it out to Michelle or Gilly, and then they would score. It was just great to watch that line.
Yeah, there's so much history, Jim, and it's cool to hear your stories on that. And Harvey had that 93-point season that year and a good playoffs, and it's cool to see him honored. And I know he's since passed, obviously, but he'll have his family here, and they're honored. And it's cool to be a part of the Hall of Fame and get to see some of these people and how much it means to them. I know Mike Stothers is excited to get here as well, and Louis Francischetti. So excited to get a chance to chat with those guys a little bit more than just the few interviews I've done with them over the years.
Right. I encourage all Hershey Bears 7th man hockey fans to get your tickets ASAP for the home game coming up. And on Sunday, the 30th?
The 30th, yes.
Get your tickets right away for the home game, March 30th, 5 p.m., Hall of Fame night. And also make sure you check out the Booster Club table when you're at the game. And they have a lot of new stuff and information on the upcoming Booster Club banquet at Hershey Lodge on April 9th, where you can also meet the players and get their autographs. You can Google them at HersheyBearsBoosterClub.com. And we have 1 minute left. So thank you very much, Zach. Are the players on the ice yet?
Yeah, let's show you what we got. They're out there practicing now. So we'll turn it here and see. I know it's a little bright, so hopefully it'll adjust. I don't know if it will or not, but the boys are out there in that case. There we go. I'm adjusting a little bit. There it is. There they are, getting the practice in. Nelly said it was going to be a short practice today, just to get the legs out from the airplane. But they're out there. Everyone's accounted for. I know Ethan Bear left the ice the other day a few minutes early. He's out there practicing as well. So that's good to see. And yeah, it's exciting. Looking forward to hopefully a win in Springfield, keeping the winning ways going on this trip.
All right. Thank you. And we'll see you again soon.
All right. Let's go Bears. Thanks, Jim.
On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.